Good morning, everyone. Hope you guys are all doing well. We are going to do another demo for you today. I'm really excited about this one. This one is about our new router bit that we're adding to the line. So this will be the 7th router bit in our line. And this one is one that I know I've got a lot of requests for over the years. I've never really wanted to use it very much, but because the fact that it cuts a flat background, and flat background really isn't my favorite, but there's a lot of you that really like the flat background. So I think this cutter will really work well for you. So I'm going to do a demo on this today, give you kind of my pros and cons on what I think about it, and then let you guys make your decision and decide whether it's something that you want to pursue and play around with. All right, so the cutter is the 1/8 inch spiral upcut. Now you guys know we have already a 1/4 inch spiral upcut, and I'm going to be using that a little bit today too. But this is an 1/8 inch spiral upcut, and I have been playing around with this thing, and man, does this thing cut nice. It just cuts so smooth. So it's in essence, it's the same thing as the other spiral upcut that we have, but the cutting diameter is ground down to 1/8 of an inch wide. It's still 1/4 inch shank, so it'll fit in any of your routers that any of our router bits fit in. This is 1/4 inch shank, but it's ground down to 1/8 inch. All right, so let's. Here's what I've done. I've taken a piece of that wormy maple and just laid a couple letters out on there. I'm going to cut these things outset with that spiral upcut. I've got it set right at 1/4 of an inch, and I would recommend not going deeper than 1/4 of an inch, especially in a hardwood. If you're in softwood, you might get by with it, but in hardwood, I just don't trust it to cut and not snap if you try to go more than 1/4 of an inch deep. So let's just cut this SP here and see how it works. Got my cheaters on, put my glasses away, turn on my lights, and okay, there it is, guys. So I'm going to go over kind of my, again, like I said before, my do's or my pros and cons. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over to my other spiral upcut. And again, you know, you guys know the flat background isn't necessarily my favorite. So I am going to, I've got the regular 1/4 inch spiral. I'm sorry. I've got the regular 1/4 inch spiral set at about 1/4 of an inch, right around the same depth. And I'm going to do a cloud around that. And then see what we can do about getting rid of the stuff in between the little bits that are left. So here's what I'm going to do. I could have taken that out with a 1/4 inch, but I've decided I'm just going to leave that in there so I can hopefully match this up with my 1/8 inch. And unfortunately I picked a board that it's not super flat. It has a little bit of a dip, and that's going to show up on that flat background. That's the part that makes it a little bit more difficult.
Can you turn on your lights there?
Oh yeah. Here we go. Let's see where we're at. Set. Yep, we're set at about 1/4 inch. Let's see what happens here. All right, you guys, so let me spin that around. Now, the one issue that the biggest issue that I have with flat background is that it needs to match up. And if your board isn't perfectly flat, like this one isn't, then you'll have little dips and stuff in there. Now, I will say that this actually, I went in there because I was using the 1/4 inch and the 1/8 inch. I went just a slightly deeper on the 1/8 inch and then just went over everything again. That you probably wouldn't need to do that, but that's what I decided to do, and it actually has a pretty decent match back in there. But a lot of that you could sand out as well, and the little sanding sticks work well. But that's one of the biggest issues I have with a flat background, is to make it look all perfectly uniform back there. All right, so what we're going to do now is we'll come back and I'll kind of wrap this thing up, and I've got another carving that I did that I want to show you and kind of give you some examples of other things you can do with this. All right, you guys, so let me kind of give you my my opinions on this bit. Number one, it cuts great. I mean, even in this ambrosia maple, which is pretty hard, it cut really good. Now, here's a little one that I did earlier, and this is just cedar. So this one, it cut like it wasn't even there. I mean, it was like it was cutting butter. It was crazy. So I'm going to kind of go through some pros and cons of what things to watch out for and things to look forward to as far as this spiral, this 1/8 inch spiral bit. So the pros, let me tell you what I like about it. Number one, it cuts, like I said, it cuts like a dream. In this, it cuts like wood's not even there. In this, it gives you a little bit of resistance. It cuts flat. You know, there's no doubt it cuts a nice flat background if that's what you like, or a flat. Here, obviously, a flat outset letter, flat, you know, around an outset letter. And then on the other side of this, hopefully that won't mess up the deal too much. This is cut with a spiral 1 inch inset letters. This is the difference between using the 60-degree V-groove and the spiral. It takes out more material, much more material. You can see that even on here. Well, not on this so much, but on the other side, on the outset letters, it takes out more material than the profile bit does when you're cutting outset letters. Sharper lines. This is much sharper lines, I think, than this, if that's what you really want. It's great in tight spots, and you guys saw that. Well, you can see that in here as well. You know, it cut those 1 inch inset letters just fine. Here's the cons. Here's the things that you want to be careful of, or things that I wasn't really that excited about. So it cuts good. It's cuts so good in this material. If you don't have complete control of it, it cuts so good in soft materials, like you got no resistance at all, like none. Like it'll just fly through there. That can be a challenge if you're a brand new sign carver. That might be a bit of a challenge for you. It honestly would be better if you're still learning control with your router to use a hardwood. You'll have a little bit more resistance. And again, it's a little bit harder to control in softwoods. Going in and out, this is something that I learned just today. Going in and out of a spot, let's turn this back around. Going in and out of a spot, if you've got the spiral, because I'm so used to a V groove and you're all the way in there, when you pull that out, it gives you, it's got that taper to it, so you don't have to be near as careful when you're going in and when you're coming out. When you've got a bit that is basically straight on the side, you just have to be really careful as you're pulling that bit in and or pulling that bit out and putting it in. You have to be much more aware of exactly where the tip of that bit is. Something that I hadn't really thought of, but in doing these tests, that's something that I realized. It's more likely to chip because of the fact that it's cutting at, literally a 90-degree angle. It's more likely to chip if you've got a chippy board. If you don't, then it's nothing to worry about. But it is more likely to chip out. Like, for instance, on the little 1-inch letters, it would have been really easy for that middle of that A to chip out if this was a chippy board. Fortunately, it's not. But it would have been really easy for it to chip out. So, whereas a V-groove bit, the 60, not so much. It doesn't. It just doesn't have a tendency to chip like the spiral upcut does. When you're spraying black, if you're going to spray black in here, it's going to be much more difficult to get coverage without overspraying, because you've got a lot more angles to get that. You're going to have to spray from different angles, and it's going to be much tougher not to overspray when you're doing that. When you're doing something that's got that 90-degree angle at it, whereas this, you can just hit that one time and you're completely covered. So that's something to keep in mind, and you definitely don't want to overspray. Sanding. When you're sanding this, what's going to happen is if you dip that pad, if you're using a disc or if you're using whatever you're using, because these are sharp edges, if that dips at all, or that the edge of that sanding disc gets in there, it's much more likely to chip those off and make that a groove than it would be with a V groove. It's much more likely that it could chip off. So you really want to have a delicate touch when you're sanding if you're using the having those sharp edges. And then the last thing is, the tough part about the spiral upcut is we don't sharpen those. So if you're a premium member and you send one of those back to us, there's just no way we can sharpen it, because we do everything by hand, as most of you know. So either one of the spirals. So now this will be the second bit out of 7 that we don't sharpen. Everything else we do, but anything that's got a spiral, that spiral flute on it, we just can't do it by hand. So, gosh, I think I covered pretty much everything that I was thinking of. Those are the pros and cons. I really like this bit. I'm going to be using it much more, especially the thing that I'm really excited about this is when I'm doing some power carving, like my big shop sign. If I'd had this bit, I would have been able to get in some of those tight spots in between those letters. Whereas I couldn't fit the 1/4 inch, I could have easily fit this one, and I wouldn't have had to go in there with the die grinder and clean most of that out. I could have easily done it with this. So when I get more into power carving, which I've got some I've got a couple of really cool things that I'm going to be doing some more power carving and routing, a mixture of the two, then this is really going to come in handy because I can get in tight spots that I couldn't with the 1/4 inch. Anyway, guys, that's it. I think that covers everything that I was thinking. If you guys have any questions, please email me directly, eric@makeawwoodsign.com. These router bits, by the way, they're on our website now. They're the same price for the 1/8 inch as they are for the 1/4 inch. I think they're $26, right? $26 for this router bit, and that's we buy so many bits from Amana. These are all Amana bits. We buy so many bits that they really give us a deep, deep discount so we can pass that on to you guys. Their regular suggested on this is a lot more than 26. But anyway, I don't even know what it is, but I know it's more. And I guess that's it. So if you guys like this video, please give us a thumbs up. Please share it with people that you think it would be useful for. And please comment on the on this video as all of our videos, because I answer those on a daily basis, and it helps us get more of an algorithm thing going with YouTube. Helps more people see our stuff. So thanks so much, guys. I hope this was helpful. And we love you. We'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.